What if the rain didn't fall from the sky but rose from within you? What if deserts could bloom not with water, but with emotion, surrender, and transformation? In today's episode, we dive into one of Old Billy's most mystical and poetic reflections. Psychedelic Rain of the Inner Desert isn't just about survival. It's about dissolving the ego, embracing emotion as substance, and discovering a love so deep it overcomes even the fear of death. Alongside the voices of Dr. Gravana and Dr. Ada Champ, we explore this desert that lives inside us, a place where feelings rain upward, silence speaks, and even madness may be a form of higher clarity. Join us on this unforgettable journey across the arid, psychedelic sands of the soul, where the driest ground can bear the most vibrant flowers, and where storytellers become the lifeblood of existence. Welcome to the rain you'll never see but will surely feel.
When the fog descended, silence settled over the village after the discovery of Old Billy's departure. His notes were left stacked, serving as entertainment for the locals who chose to share them with others.
Number 033. Psychedelic Rain of the Inner Desert. The rain in the desert is unlike any other. How can it be different? Everything in the desert is like a straight line full of curves. It rains dry from the ground up, which is why you find fruits and flowers wet when the sun rises. No, it's not dew, and don't even try to explain the rain of the oasis. These things can only be spoken of to those who have been there, or to a sheet of paper that cannot deny you. Part of us is flesh and bone, but a greater part is emotion and feeling. In the desert, a sigh fills the soul and a tear overflows a reservoir. The desert people vibrate with emotion and feeling, and when they feel the need for rain in their world, they become the rain. The rain of the oasis can be collective, born from an entire tribe, or individual, like that of a wife waiting for the father of the child in her womb. Indescribable, the desert rain follows its own laws that should not be spoken of outside its domain. To survive, you must either struggle to exist or surrender to life. The first is effort. The second is the pleasure of yielding to a solitary state of mind, where one can commune with the soul of everything and everyone. Thus, for love of this life of twisted lines, men and women shake their inner clouds and bathe in rains that cannot be photographed, yet soak and fertilize the sands, turning aridity into gardens of fragrant colors. I'll say it again. It's easy to leave the desert, but it's impossible to remove it from the soul. Once the survival phase ends and you surrender to desert life, your chest tears open. In this deep pain, you are numbed by the most sublime feeling that can cross a human being. This love dissolves the fear of death. The future dissolves into the past. Some become rain, others surprise themselves in music and silent poetry, and some dissolve into the air itself, nourishing the next traveler with every breath they take. But it is those who transform into storytellers who most help align these manifestations with the will of life. When desert beings encounter the consciousness of an oasis, the first thing they say is that the heat and hunger have driven everyone else irrevocably mad. And perhaps that's why it is so difficult to remove the desert from within us. The less you carry on the dancing sands, the more graceful your movement in the sun-filled night dance. The only excess nomads carry is emotional weight, and from there, everything becomes possible. Thus, the mystery of aquarium fish is revealed. Men who choose to inhabit a small expanse of land yet roam vast sands, swimming inward to where they feel most at home, as if contained by an invisible glass. And well-being, chosen clearly and consciously, ensures that nothing is ever lacking, even if that abundance cannot be measured or captured in a photograph. In this way, they sigh in resonance with the greatest gift of all, life itself.
Greetings to all. Allow me to begin with Dr. Dustin Gravana. It is no secret that old Billy was skeptical of psychologists, and especially psychiatrists. However, I am certain he would be pleased with your presence in this group, just as he would warmly welcome Dr. Ada Champ. To Mr. Billy, honest contradiction was akin to the very steps that elevate our consciousness. Moreover, he often said, on the day psychiatrists truly understand the nature and function of the human mind, the sun will drop anchor in their hearts, illuminating the consciousness of us all. For this reason, I sincerely thank you for your candor and for your time. In advance, I apologize if in defending old Billy, I become a bit too passionate. I do not exactly possess the reserved temperament typical of the British. I am more fiery, like the Italians. More than once I have found myself in the midst of an argument before even realizing it, only to regret it shortly after. That said, please feel free to share your thoughts. How would psychiatry interpret the text we have just read? Your insight is truly valuable.
A psychiatrist might analyze this text through multiple lenses, depending on their approach and specialization. Here are a few possible perspectives. Psychodynamic perspective. The text is rich in metaphor and imagery, suggesting a deep connection to the subconscious mind. The desert could symbolize a psychological state of solitude, introspection, or even existential crisis. The idea of transforming into rain or becoming part of the air may indicate a dissolution of ego boundaries, which can be associated with altered states of consciousness, intense emotional experiences, or even depersonalization. Neuropsychiatric perspective. The text's descriptions of surreal perceptions, emotional transcendence, and sensory blending could be linked to neurological or psychiatric conditions, such as hallucinatory experiences, dissociation, or even altered states seen in psychedelic use or spiritual awakenings. If the author experienced these sensations intensely and persistently, a psychiatrist might explore whether there are signs of mood disorders, such as bipolar disorder with mystical experiences, or psychotic symptoms in conditions like schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. Transpersonal psychiatry. This field integrates psychology with spirituality and altered states of consciousness. The text aligns with concepts of spiritual transformation, ego dissolution, and mystical experiences, which can be profound but sometimes unsettling. A transpersonal psychiatrist would likely explore whether these experiences are leading to personal growth or distress. If distressing, they might guide the individual through grounding techniques to integrate these experiences in a healthy way. Existential psychiatry. The themes of survival, connection to nature, and surrendering to life suggest an existential exploration of meaning, suffering, and transcendence. The psychiatrist might assess whether the author is grappling with an existential crisis, where their perception of reality and self-identity is shifting dramatically. Final thoughts. A psychiatrist wouldn't necessarily pathologize this text, but would first try to understand the emotional impact of these experiences on the individual. If they are distressing, disruptive, or accompanied by impairment in daily functioning, they might explore underlying conditions. However, if these experiences bring insight, creativity, and personal expansion, they might simply be part of an intense psycho-spiritual transformation.
Okay, your closing brought back my air. However, if these experiences bring insight, creativity, and personal expansion, they might simply be part of an intense psycho-spiritual transformation. May God bless literature and art as a whole. It is good to remember the words of old Billy, who said, "Art is a lie invented to tell truths." This says a lot. It helps a lot, if you know what I mean. Thank you, Dr. Gravana. It is good to know that professionals in your field can embrace ambiguity before branding a fatal stigma on the existence of those who perceive the world with greater awareness and perspective. Now, Dr. Ada, you are a psychologist, psychiatrist, philosopher, and university professor with 3 decades of experience in both clinical settings and private practice. Throughout our discussions, you have analyzed several of old Billy's notes without ever suggesting the presence of any mental disorder in the author. Before I ask for your analysis of this particular text, I'd like you to satisfy my curiosity. Why have those ill-fated words been absent from your previous assessments?
Firjan, you already have the answer. 3 decades of experience in both clinical settings and private practice. After a few mistakes, ones I must acknowledge, I have learned to distinguish one thing from another. As you also mentioned before, on the day psychiatrists truly understand the nature and function of the human mind, the sun will anchor itself in their hearts, illuminating the consciousness of us all. And believe me, I have witnessed individuals displaying a degree of lucidity far beyond what our science classifies as mental capacity. Every day I wake up hoping to witness this again, so that we may learn from them the best ways to expand our own consciousness. You could say that I am not a hunter of madness, but rather a collector of lucidity. Here are some key points from my current analysis. This text is poetic and deeply metaphorical, blending elements of mysticism, personal transformation, and the desert as a metaphor for an inner journey, particularly through the metaphor of psychedelic rain. The desert as a metaphor. The desert is depicted as both a physical and an emotional landscape, representing solitude, transformation, and a confrontation with one's inner self. The idea that it's easy to leave the desert, but it's impossible to take it out of our soul, suggests a profound and irreversible internal change. Psychedelic rain. The rain described in the text is not a literal phenomenon but a symbolic experience, a kind of emotional or spiritual nourishment that defies logic and external explanation. Dry rain. Fruits and flowers wet when the sun rises, and inner clouds creates a surreal and captivating atmosphere. The imagery is very strong and creates a feeling of a dream-like state. This aligns with mystical or altered states of consciousness where internal realities become more vivid than external ones. Emotion as substance. The text presents emotion and feeling as tangible forces, almost more real than flesh and bone. This challenges conventional perspectives, emphasizing that true sustenance and transformation come from emotional and spiritual depths rather than material reality. The text explores the idea of emotions becoming a physical manifestation. This is very strong. Transcendence and loss of fear. The mention of a sublime feeling that removes the fear of death and distorts the perception of time speaks to a transcendent experience. This suggests a deep surrender to life's natural flow, a state where traditional concerns, survival, goals, expectations, dissolve into something larger. The role of storytellers. The reporters of tradition serve as bridges between these esoteric experiences and collective understanding. They help others navigate these metaphysical realms by preserving and communicating knowledge that might otherwise remain ineffable. Nomads and the illusion of boundaries. The comparison of desert wanderers to aquarium fish suggests that limitations are self-imposed, and true freedom exists in the conscious choice of well-being rather than external circumstances. The text contrasts the physical challenges of the desert with the richness of its inner landscape, emphasizing the power of emotional and spiritual experience. The inside and outside landscapes are very different. Emphasis on surrender and acceptance. The text advocates for surrendering to life's flow, particularly in the face of adversity, highlighting the transformative power of acceptance. Surrender is a key theme. Strong ending. The ending statement regarding well-being and resonance with life is very strong. Overall, this is a beautifully written and deeply symbolic piece that effectively captures the transformative power of the desert. The author's evocative imagery, emotional depth, and philosophical tone make this a compelling and thought-provoking read.
John, please, before we wrap up, allow me to say something briefly. You mentioned art, and at this point, I'm not sure whether art serves consciousness or if it's the other way around. Perhaps it works both ways. What I truly mean is that we must free our imagination and learn to understand its language. Otherwise, we will never be able to communicate with our hearts. This psychedelic approach has given us a unique perspective on desert life, one that transcends the typical portrayal of hardship and instead explores its spiritual and emotional dimensions. It is an exceptional and profound vision of life in the desert. The writing is both lyrical and philosophical, evoking a sense of wonder and deep contemplation. If we fail to explore, exercise, and free our minds, stretching their abilities, we will be doomed to eternal mediocrity. I would much rather be called crazy in good company.
That is it. That is life that goes on. Thanks, Dr. Gravana, Dr. Champ, dear Ava, and a special thanks to old Billy, wherever you may be now. If not for your weirdness, our minds would never have approached this door of possibilities. Thanks to all.